Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity and Love. Incredible experts the world over with amazing insights, also usually some sort of transformative journey that's allowed them not only to sort their own stuff out and follow their unique life path, but to help others on theirs. That's called giving service. We've had healers from all over the world. We've got 25 countries right now represented by the guests. A White House physician to the US president, the youngest Delta Force operator ever who studied naturopathy on the side, New York Times bestsellers, and Oprah's Super Soul Sunday guest, plus a Super Soul 100 teacher in Sweden. Incredible guests. And we've been very fortunate as a super small show to have these guests join us for their time. Today, no exception, coming to us from Santa Fe, New Mexico, Sierra Bender, incredible multifaceted background, near-death experience, best-selling author, whether it's fitness, your personal transformation for your own life journey, empowerment, the divine feminine, just generally making you whole again, helping you get back into the rider's seat of the horse to ride into life and to enjoy life as a feast. You got to partake. That is Sierra. Sierra, welcome to the show. Welcome to Angels, Positivity, and Love.
Wow, Michael, that was great. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay, hey, you've helped a lot of people in the millions and for a while now. Talk to us about what was the pivotal moment in your life when you went from maybe running from your skills or you had to confront something to then, hey, let's get going with this program. I'm going to get moving forward. Was it in your young adult years, teenage years, high school, college, or after?
Well, a couple things. When I was 7, I looked in the mirror and I was like, who are you? Why are you here? And who are these people? Family members and things. So I always had the gift. I just didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how it worked. I followed the rules of what society told me, and I was a semi-professional athlete. So I was really in tune with my warrior self. But I also came from abuse as a child, sexual assault and abuse. So I had to cut off my femininity in order to survive. And I remember having this conversation with my mother when I was a kid also. I said, I'm not getting married. I'm traveling the world and I'm not doing this, meaning 4 kids, Italian, soccer mom, and not that there's anything wrong with that. But I just knew deep down in my soul that this is not my path. However, I fell prey to what our religion said, culture said, and, it kind of beats you up when you're a kid. And, it's sometimes easier to just go with the flow. So you think. And then at 32, I did get pregnant. I had a very rare tubular pregnancy that was misdiagnosed. So I was 4 months pregnant, and on Christmas Eve, it ruptured. I bled to death. Had my awakening with Christ and God. And then that just set me, it kind of was like fine tuning a radio station. Like when I had my conversation with Christ and God, it was like, Sierra, you're so far off of who you really are. Let me remind you. And then I had that clarity at that moment. So even though I lost so much and it was very painful, it really was the true awakening to who I am, where I am, where I'm going, what's my purpose. And I was shown that also. Not everything, but the main part. And it wasn't easy.
Can you take just one more moment on the other side, or however you describe having that chat or receiving? What was it like? Or just give us one extra flavor of detail, because it was a super personal and big experience.
Wow. One, death is not scary. It's actually beautiful. It's our ego that doesn't want to let go. I didn't want to let go, and once I got there, I didn't want to come back. So my conversation was first with, I always try to explain it. It's so hard to put it in words because it's just so expansive. But to me, when I met Christ, Christ was sitting on the edge of my bed. It wasn't as if it was a person. It was, the energy was going in and out. TV does a really good job on this. So it wasn't actually taking form. It was just so expansive. Yet the energy was so beautiful. I felt safe. I felt what love really is. I felt an inner knowing. It was never words. It was like, you already know this. I'm just here to remind you. And, you know, being brought up Catholic, I always knew about Christ, but I never really believed in my religion because I didn't want to fear God. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you're taught God is everywhere and everything. And so I had a really hard time with that as a child. So for me, God is the most expansive universe, whatever that means, creator. And our brain, our body cannot handle the intensity of all that energy. It's just too much. And so Christ is kind of, like I say, is the middleman. He is the middleman to help us understand that he was the first human being that was on the planet that understood the intelligence of what love is, and the first human being to put that into effect, as we now, you know, call it Christ consciousness, that every human being is capable of doing this. Every human being is capable of being in that alignment. And where do we give our power away? And so it was a really huge awakening because, and then Christ put his hands on me, and it was like rewiring. It was remembering who I am, my soul. And like, you know, it's kind of like, if you look at it, cancer, right? All the cells are all over in there, which creates disease, right? Your energy. And that's how I felt. It was like, everything was so chaotic. And then it came together in the alignment. And then I was asked 4 questions from Christ. And that created my book. It created the clinically proven method, and it just keeps going on and on. I'm still not finished. So it was absolutely amazing. So there's so much to it, but and I said, I don't want to come back here. I don't want to stay. It's just too much. I want to stay with you. It was like, nope, you have to go back. You know who you are. You know why you're here, and you know where you're going. And we are here to support you and help you. You had this as a child, and it was taken away. And we all have it. And it's just remembering.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, flashing forward in life, since then to now, have you had a moment of serendipity, synchronicity, but with maybe a total stranger? It could have been dream time. Yeah, we're at a certain week or a month or a phase in your life, you needed to hear something needed to happen. That stranger down the street was just saying the right thing at the right time. You look back, they're not there anymore. What's one of those stories you can just share with us that you're like, I needed to pick me up and that was it. It was this time.
Oh, my whole life's like that.
Okay, what's one of them though that we can get the details?
Oh, wow. Ooh. Writing my book. I'm not an author. I don't write. You know, I actually, after I came back, I didn't know who to speak to because no one knew who I was. I was this person who they all wanted me to be. And then I became this person. And then it was pretty scary because people were projecting a lot of fear on me that, you know, like to give you an example, my husband at the time took all my journals and brought them to an attorney because he wanted to prove that I was mentally insane. So I didn't know who to speak to. I didn't know what to do. And I just kept praying and praying and praying. And I said, Spirit, please, I don't want to lose this connection. Please give me a sign that I'm not losing my mind, you know, on this, because I had no support. And okay, so my support is you, where I will never, ever not trust my intuition. And I don't know how to explain this, but people are gonna think you're nuts. But the biggest one was the first one. I prayed. I said, Spirit, please help me. And my dog was sprayed 13 times by a skunk. 13 times in 1 year. that morning, the next morning, I woke up, there was a baby skunk. Now, I was never scared of any animal but a skunk. When I used to have trauma nightmares, I kept dreaming of skunks. And I'm like, why do I keep dreaming of skunks? What is it with a skunk? You know, and they like the teeth and it was just horrific. So the next morning I wake up to go let my dog out. There's this baby skunk at my door. I screamed at the top of my lungs. And I was like, okay, I have to look up what a skunk represents, right? So I look up the skunk and what does it represent? Something stinks, your reputation. You know, it was all about my abuse coming up also from the near-death experience, and you're not nuts. You are not nuts. Everyone around you wants to keep you in the same space because then they know how to communicate with you. It's about their fear projecting, but you are not crazy. I am here. When you speak to me, I will show you. And that skunk, I'm no longer scared of skunks, but that skunk, you know, I work a lot with indigenous cultures, and that's what the skunk represented. And that also the strength of your words and your body language and who you are, that spray of a skunk is how you protect yourself. So it was like, stop trying to explain yourself, because when you explain yourself, when you defend yourself, you're demeaning yourself. Just be quiet. Just listen to me. And then my whole life kept doing that. Whenever I'm in a situation, I don't go to the outside. I'm like, all right, spirit, may my eyes, ears, and heart be open to receive you. May I get out of the way and show me. And show me. It's magical. And how the universe talks to you that way. For me, it's always animals. Always animals. For some people, you know, I have my guides, I have my angels, of course, they're always there. But for me, it's on the physical plane. It's always animals appear, you know, the deer in front of your car, the owl that you hear at night, whatever it may be. It's like, pay attention, I'm talking to you. And that's how, for me, it built my connection and my confidence in myself and my connection to spirit, how I used to be when I was a child.
You mentioned the indigenous connections, whether it's domestic or Peru or elsewhere. Before we get to that, how cute was the baby skunk? Just in the moment before you started screaming, was it super cute?
Oh, it was hurt. It was so adorable. And, you know, I'm like, I'm not going to kill it. I'm not going to have it killed. So I had the animal, whatever, come in and take it. And I said, whatever you do, do not kill it. Otherwise I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
And so what am I going to do with skunk? But they said, no, we're not going to hurt it. It's not going to spray if it feels safe. It only sprays when it doesn't feel safe. So he just picked it up. And he said, actually, its leg is broken or something's wrong with it. You know, where it couldn't walk. And I'm like, it's at my doorstep. Like, you cannot make that shit up, as I say. Like, you cannot make that stuff up. And that's been my life.
Okay. We talking Peru or in the United States for indigenous?
Australia, Peru, Native Americans.
Tell us about an Australian trip, if that's okay.
Sure, I did boot camp for goddesses, which is one of my big retreats. And I was asked to go to Australia. So I say, I want to travel the world. And I put out the intention and I put on my schedule with a marker and I go, boom, this is where I want to go. How's it going to happen, spirit? Make it happen, you know? And then I just keep praying on it, setting my intention. Like, I'm already there. I'm doing it. I see all the women having fun, kicking their butts, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I met the indigenous people there, which is very rare. And I was running a sweat lodge. And so it was just really beautiful because they didn't really understand, well, that, you know, from that. But it's just this, even though they don't speak the same language like in Peru, you speak the language of heart. And they can see you. They really see you. And then they want to be around you. They want to learn from you and vice versa. I'm not there to take, because that's most of their biggest fear, right?
Mm.
And it's just like, no, we're all here to connect to the largest goddess of all, Mother Earth. However you do that, I'm on the same plane. I'm kind of like the bridge between, the modern meeting the past, and how do I bring it to the 21st century? So
I've got a quote for you, two quotes.
mhm.
One's from a NASA astronaut, Story Musgrave. Getting out of the comfortable path, that's what exploration is all about. And that is totally what I thought of when I saw you, because you're very much an explorer, whether we're talking physical or just getting out of what you knew before. And then here's one more. A healer is someone who's able to raise their frequency to connect to the source light energy while keeping themselves clear and fully connected. They use this elevated frequency to help others directly or indirectly. Can you talk to us more about your path as a healer, how it's been evolving, how it is evolving, and take us through some of the ebbs and flows, or just where you're like, whoa, what is this about? I got to start paying attention more.
Great question. At the beginning, it was, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I was always a personal trainer, and I always came at it from the physical because I was semi-professional athlete. So I did personal training before it was even big, because women were always like, how do you do it? Yeah. So, and then I was like, okay, well, wait a second. After my near-death experience, so here's the synchronicity. One of my clients was the CEO of American Express. He just got back from India, and he had bought this huge archway to a temple. It was stunning and huge. And they had a Buddha sitting inside, the archway, and they were running late. God knows. I sat underneath it, and I prayed. And I'm like, I don't care what I have to do. Every human being is capable of what I felt, of what I experienced, and I will go anywhere in the world to find it. I don't care if I'm dead or not, it's just like, I'm going. And so the synchronicity is at my wedding, I met this woman. She was Peruvian, and she said, hey, Sierra, do you want to go to India with me? You'd be a great person. I'm like, mind you, I'm a Jersey girl who's only traveled to the Bahamas, basically. I've never really been traveling. And I said, that's it. That's it. I need to go. And so basically going on that journey, and magic happened, like I was in the Dalai Lama's home, and it was insane, the magic that was happening. And so basically I teach women how to trust their intuition, which is the most powerful force a woman has, how to stay aligned in that without becoming prey to the outside. And then my 4-body-fit method, which is, we hear about the 4 bodies, like my book was I was doing the workshops back in 1996, and my book didn't come out till 2010, but I was teaching this 4-body-fit method and the goddess. So how many women have given away their femininity in order to survive? And it was like, no, we're going to reclaim those pieces back. And I'm going to show you where, thank you, where you fall prey. So basically, I would ask them the same 4 questions that Spirit asked me. One is, love is not just an emotion. It's the most powerful force grounded by action and responsibility. Sierra, where are you not loving you? Are you more pissed off at what happened to you? Or are you more pissed off that they, in that situation, those people in that situation still have that much power over your mind, your emotions, and your future? I was like, dang, Jersey girls, like, I'm more pissed off that they have that much control over me. So I understood what forgiveness was at that moment. So that's basic of what I'm teaching. Stop being a victim of life and start participating. And I'm going to show you where you fall prey. And if a woman knows what her power, then she would know when she's giving it away. But women don't really know their power because we're not taught. And so I asked the 4 questions. The 4 questions are, which I ask anybody, men too, it works for men, but I mostly work for women, is spiritually, When did you disconnect from the source of my love, this love? Why did you connect? Why did you disconnect from the source of this love? And I'm like, oh, I remember when I was a child and I could connect to you and talk to you, and then abuse, you go out of your body, to the moment I could remember. And then I always talked to the trees and nature, and that was my God. And then mentally, what were the belief systems that took you further away from the source of my love? From religion, your culture, your family, society, media. I'm like, dang, I remember the first day of confession, speaking to the priest. The priest told me I didn't know how to speak to God and tell me your sins. And I'm like, I don't know what a sin is. It feels like tattletale here. But I got in trouble because of my voice, which was always my gift. And I said, I don't need you. I already know how to speak to God. If God is everywhere and everything, what do I need you for? And I got in trouble because I didn't understand, and I didn't want to go there. I knew at such a young age, I'm not going there. And so that was so clear, like seeing it, in the church. I was like, wow. So, painful experiences we don't want to feel. We don't want to go back to them. Well, it brought me back to every single thing so I could heal it. And then emotionally, why do you continually punish yourself not feeling worthy of my love? Eating disorders, what girls go through, relationships, control issues, codependency. Wow. And I was like, okay, I know where that started, right? Trying to prove your worthiness. And then physically, why do you consistently attract the same actors and actresses in your life that tell you you're not worthy? I was like, dang, I'm a victim of my life. I'm not participating in it. And then that's when everyone asked me, how did you start your career? I'm like, I was effing pissed off, righteous anger that so many women, I work mostly with women, but people are in so much pain, and I need to do something about it. I need to show them a different way. And so that's how it all started.
How does kindness count?
Oh, kindness is huge, but there's a difference between being nice and kind. So women are taught to be nice, which is very codependent because you have to be safe. You're checking in to see where you're safe. And women aren't allowed to express anger. So it's more or less like people are so scared of women's anger. So, and kindness is I'm doing this out of my heart. I don't want anything in return. It's more like gratitude, like, wow, this is so great. This person came into my life. I can help them, vice versa. Or it's not keeping score.
Okay. What do you see next down the road? Is it more retreats, and where, or is it less retreats?
I'm done with retreats. I've been done the past year. I said, in order for me to move to the next level, I got to give it up, which is scary because, knock, knock, who's there? Got us up, as I say. And, my thing I say to the women too is knock, knock, who's there? Got us up, wake the fuck up and got us up, like kick it in. So that's my whole, excuse me, but my whole attitude. And that's, with women, wake up. And I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm not saying this because I'm saying this because you're better than that. And this is an expression of love. It also has to be fierce. I'm not telling you the truth to hurt you. I'm telling you the truth because either A, you either go in this direction, or B, stay where you are. If you want to stay where you are, then I can't deal with you. I don't want to deal with you. Maybe you're not ready right now, and that's okay. I'm not judging it, but I can't. There's too much going on where, especially now in the world, especially as healers, it's like, there's too many people on medication, and that's why I stopped doing a lot of my work. 2 reasons. 1, too many women are on medication. Every time I did a workshop or retreat, 80% of them are on some type of medication, and 60% or more were a statistic of sexual assault and abuse. Now, mind you, they're well educated, they're professionals, they're not, as we think in the projects and things. And so that's what's happening. And they're mostly white women. So this is what, through my research, I've really dug deep. And I was like, why do I keep seeing, I love patterns. So I was like, why do I keep seeing these patterns? And then I just, it was exhausting. It was just absolutely exhausting. And you can't help people who do not want the help, or they're just, you're bouncing off like this. And then it ends up hurting you. And so I was like, no, I'm done. I'm too old for this. I've done it for 30 years. I'm now 60. It's a wise woman. It's time to move to a whole nother level. And now it's more about expeditions. I've always done expeditions, but now it's more or less like more so expeditions, and I'm writing more and more another project, which has to do with a bigger message.
Okay, compassion and fierceness. That's definitely, if it was 2 or 3 of the t-shirts and the 5 t-shirts in your store, compassion, fierceness, you kind of hit on the fierceness part. Would you want to elaborate more on fierceness or compassion right now? Choose which one you'd love to talk about, or a third part of your, messaging.
Well, the goddess warrior is the balance. Everything I teach, like goddess to the core. It's the masculine and feminine, boot camp for goddesses, goddesses gone wild, goddess in the bedroom. It's like everything is the balance of what I do. So it's how do I, especially for women, it's easier for us, right? And that is our power, that we could shapeshift into both. So the goddess warrior, as I describe, is basically a woman who listens to her intuition, feminine, and then brave enough to follow it, masculine, action, not man and woman, feminine and masculine. And I explain this in my book. And what are the energies? And especially everything first starts off with the feminine energy, open, receptive, allowing, and then moves into the masculine, focus, discipline, action. And so it's learning that, like how to work with energy. And so that's the fierceness. It's like I could be compassionate, yet I could kick your ass in a split second if I needed to, right? So it's like the goddess posture, as I teach, is like her heart is totally open. She's fully grounded. She's constantly giving birth to ideas, not just babies, ideas. She's constantly this machine of energy. And then, but, women are too open. They don't have a filter. They don't know how to protect. They're taking everything on, which is their codependency. Then they don't know how to work with, oh my God, I can't believe they said that. No, that's not my shit. That's not my shit. Like, I'm not taking that on. So you have to understand emotional intelligence, which is also compassion for yourself first, that I will not allow this in my energy. I will not allow this in my energy. And so a lot of women have a hard time doing that because they're taught to be nice. And so that's where they're giving their power away. So the compassion is for me first. And then I fill myself up first. And then I'm able to give even more. I want to be present with you. Most women aren't present. They're not in their bodies. That's why they're so sick, with the highest statistics that we have now with mental health, stroke, heart. It's never ending in the United States and Canada. So it's like, wow, where is this all coming from?
That's
And now you see the younger generation is, whoa, it's like,
I'm amazed sitting in this seat with almost 200 episodes recorded, even though we've only had episode about 111 coming out at this point. The biggest theme that I've noticed just sitting here is not being present in your body, not being grounded enough, and being part of your heart instead of all of this, the external or the rat race and the rest. So beautifully put. Can you share with us a moment that was another, I don't want to call it mystical necessarily, it could have been dream time. You had a specific dream, it was your grandmother, or it was this or that, or it was this spirit animal, or it was physically in Peru, you were in the middle of something, a ceremony. Do you have one of those stories? Or if it's 2 or 3, take us through 2 or 3 of those stories. Yeah.
So first one was boot camp for goddesses, right? It was like, okay, when I went through my yoga teacher training at Kripalu, everybody said, you teach yoga like a boot camp. And I'm like, yeah, I said, I'm a trainer first. You know, I can push people. I can read their bodies to see what they can and cannot do. I understand that, being in this industry for so long. I'm not all love and light yoga teacher. I'm more like, get to the point you need to be. I'm going to help you. I have the compassion of knowing I can see, and I'm going to help guide you there. Okay. So that's where the boot camp came from. The goddess actually came from when I was married. I went to Hebrew school because my husband at the time was Jewish, and I love history. And I'm like, why not? It's more important to him. So, you know, pick one. And then, of course, they'll learn others. So I went and I learned about the goddess. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I wasn't taught this about Lilith and Ruth and all these amazing, powerful women. So I was like, goddess up. Like, these women kick butt. So it kind of taught me, okay, wait a second. I'm so not there. I'm thinking the goddesses mythology, right? The Greek goddesses, and we're not taught. So I dug really deep and did research. So I did the boot camp for Goddesses 1, and it was huge. It was the first fitness in Kripalu. We sold out. I mean, I can't take any more women. I was like, I had over 120 women sign up. I was like, well, wait a minute, that's too many for a week. I'm going to die with that many women. So, but I had a awakening with that, like, Sierra, this is who you are. This is what you teach. This is what God was showing you, your purpose. Now put it into effect. And I was like, okay, what am I going to call it? You know? So I just took that. And then the second one was, I had a dream about Goddess Boot Camp 2. And it was like, I lived in Colorado at the time. And it's like, you have to do it in teepees. I'm like, a boot camp 2? Why in teepees? Teepees. So I'm like, how am I going to do teepees in the middle of nowhere? Make a phone call to a person, one of the girls I was working with. Oh, I can make them for you. I was like, excuse me? It's just magical, right? I can make them for you. I'm like, okay, let's go. Because everybody's like, oh, just do it in tents. I'm like, no, it has to be in a teepee. Spirit says it has to be in a teepee. So I look up like all the energy of a teepee. The women put up the teepees. It's a vortex. It's a healing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I got it. Teepee. Third one was, it's still going. And then it was like, recently I went to the jungle. I've been doing ayahuasca for 25 years, and I've been working with the natives. Now, if I said that 25 years ago, people would think I'm nuts, right? So it saved my life in many ways. And I had a healing done by the matriarch of the family. And she said, what happened is when you had the near-death experience, it was like losing a pinky. A part of your soul went with it. And now we're going to reclaim it back. It's like, that's what a soul retrieval is. I'm reclaiming those pieces back of me that were lost through trauma, what have you. So I'm like, okay. So I had this beautiful experience always with ayahuasca, showing me what I need to do and what I need to heal, and never had an issue. It was almost like you're taking me back to my near-death experience, that awe. And I always laugh because it's so humor. You know, you have to laugh about life in general. It's just like, as the natives say, it opens up your heart so you can receive your guides and medicine. And so I kept having these different visions, but the last one I had was the best. So the last vision I had was not even 2 years ago. And I was asking the question, what's next for me? Because I know I'm not done, you know, and I'm like, I'm kind of bored. You know, when you're bored, spirit's like, knock, knock, who's there? Let's go, goddess up, you know? And I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do next? And I had this vision of all this patriarchal system and men coming at, unhealthy men coming at me. And I was like, because of the goddess, right? It's just like, why are you so scared of us women? You know? And I just went like this. And it was like parting the seas. And they said, we have trained you since the beginning of time for this, and you are ready. You are seasoned and you are ready. But then I had fear, you know, I'm like, well, what am I don't want to be on camera doing Facebook and all that kind of stuff. No, they're like, no, you need to be on the big camera. And I'm like, okay, I can handle that. I can handle that. And so that's where I'm going. Let's see what happens. And then, I did my vision board. I did everything. And I'm like, goddesses, help me. Because if you want me to speak for you, you have to move mountains. And then recently this summer, my father was killed. He was murdered. And I'm like, Dad, you were paying my ass on this level. But on this level, you better start parting the seas. You better start working for me. And so that's helping because I could feel his energy and I could feel everyone on the other side, ancestral and is making it happen. And they're just like, don't fall prey. So it's funny when we were doing the thing, it was like,
before the show, we were talking and taking some steps. Yeah.
It was like, get out of the way. It was so clear. Get out of the way. The detail thing, don't worry about the detail.
Exactly. It's never about the details, even though we all know it's about the details. But you got to get out of the way to not.
I know, that's our ego. How am I going to make this work? How's this going to happen? Like, and I'm like, okay, get out of the way. But I've always known, which I also teach, is you got to let something go in order to receive, because spirit wants to give to you, but you're too filled up with heaviness of past trauma or whatever it may be. You're not willing to give it up. Well, you're going to have to give it up because I'm going to show you how to give it up. And once they give it up, they're like, oh, that wasn't so hard.
Exactly. Hey, are you ready for some sage from Texas to New Mexico? I'm gonna light it. If anybody's coming into the show for the first time, this is something we do, although I forgot twice. The guest was so interesting, I forgot to even pick up the sage. Whoops, I'm bad. And there's always like 2 or 3 guests out of 200, or maybe 5, that we didn't do anything. I think it's only like 3 or 4. I think we're at a 98.5% rate or something for participation, at least before the show, after the show. My only rule is set the intent. I'm going to light this. You can smell this. Even if it's 2029, you're in New Zealand, Tokyo, Peru, watching this, catch it through 2 screens. Why not? It's just a little bit of love. Call it plant medicine if you want. Some people who are sensitive start tasting it when I light it. It's just sage and there's a red-tailed hawk feather there. Whatever the rainbow shell is called, abalone. And a crate and barrel tea light. Most important, it's shiny and blue. It's pretty. Okay, here's some sage. Catch sage, catch flowers, catch ocean if you're cray-cray. But say your intent. Ask angels, the universe, to make it really nice. Get you out of your head, out of your own way. Park it for a moment and just use your heart. And even if your schnoggin doesn't work today, for this, your schnoggin can work. Let angels do their jobs. Colorblind people have seen color. What will you allow for? I know our guest. That's all she teaches. What will you allow for? But more like a pat in the back of the head to get you to like pay attention and allow. So are you already getting, Sarah, some sage and some flowers?
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
What flowers are you getting?
Roses, always. Roses and daisies.
Okay, now this is kind of fresh sage, so it's going to take a second to stub it out. I didn't realize the consequences of changing it out before the show. I don't want it like smoking. And we've had streaks of light pass by. Angels most of the time, and I don't want to, a really big, well-known figure came by as a streak of light this way. That's Dr. Elaine Yoshikawa out of Arizona State University. If people check out her first appearance on the show, I put it all over that show. I put it all over my social media because you see my face go like that, and I'm just caught off guard. You never know. Angels are with you all the time. Do you have an angel story for us? Dream time, small main street of a town, your car broke down and somebody came along. There's a lot of typical stories. Do you have one you can share with us?
Yeah, Angel Michael's my angel. He always been. Here's one great story before my near-death experience. I kept praying because I didn't like being pregnant. I felt like there was this foreign object, and then I felt guilty for it, and I felt ashamed, especially as a woman. But I knew I'm not supposed to have children. So I was rocking in the rocking chair because I love to rock, and I was praying. And all of a sudden, I'm like, please. And so here's how it worked twice on the physical. On the physical, I had over about 200 crows flying in the trees as I was praying. And crows are courage and mystery and magic, right? And then I'm like, this is really odd. Like, what is it with all these crows? So I go look up crows, of course, right? And then I prayed for all my angels and I said, please wrap your wings, like touch your wing to wing around me.
Mm.
And I still do it. You know, it's like my sacred place. And of course, for me, it's Angel Michael, of course, leading it. And then the 4 angels, the 4 corners. So Raphael, Gabriel,
Ooh.
and
I
Uriel.
I'll put up a couple photos, and if you want the big J, Jesus will do the drawing from the I get it wrong every time, but this is when she was 14, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. She's probably 30 now with 3 PhDs, but she painted this beautiful drawing of Jesus. We'll do him last. I've got Joy and Angel. I always do her first, but I've got 4 archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, in light energy form. And I've got Michael this way, more classic, but people can just close their eyes and see third eye or feel or any which way, but loose and loose. Here's Joy. If you want to ask her a private question, get an answer for us all, or I don't know how to say it the right way. Ask her what she has as a reminder for us all, and it'll be something that you already talk about all the time.
Mm.
And anybody wants to get flowers, put your hand out. You can feel the vibe, or you can just feel love in the air or a higher vibe, whatever you want to allow for. It's got to be your way of getting out of what you know for 5 seconds to let a little bit of angelic light or just love, high vibe frequency to come in. And what do you got? What have you? I'm going to start stuttering. What have you got for us, Sierra? What did Joy remind you of?
Childlike, be childlike, because the fun, it's so interesting because every time I have fun, I manifest things.
Mm.
It's when I'm like this and I'm trying to, it's like, go out for your hike, go over here, go, and you're thinking, oh man, I got to get this work done. I mean, no, have fun first and then sit down and you're more focused to do what you need to do. And I haven't been doing that. And I have to do more. And I've been praying on that. So
I've got a quote. You just reminded me of a great quote. A bunch of angels and Jesus and archangels and other figures. Plato gave definitions of compassion. I think we could be here for the next 10 years, giving a different definition of compassion every 5 minutes with some breaks for water and food. Here's Mac. Don't call her Mackenzie. Everything plants, animals, and nature. But she said, compassion is treating every moment with the awareness of a newborn baby. And I thought that's what you just said to me is what I heard. So wow. I'm just going to put up the archangels, Jesus, and then we'll go back to chatting. Although I might show my energy, you don't have to show yours. You'll just see aura light. And then I'd love to talk to you more about like Peru indigenous ceremony. And I have Jaguar spirit I can put up. Let's get through Jesus and see if we can do 2 J's in a row. Here's Michael first solo. Anybody can put their hand out, feel the vibe. He's one of my business managers. Take that with a grain of salt. Feel what you feel. And unofficially, besides setting your intent, angels get me out of my head into my heart. Help me have fun. Amen. Rock and roll. Thank you. Breathe more through your mouth, not the nose. I get nose breathers once in a while, but the 1970s stereo component, the receiver, it's like turning up the volume when you breathe through your mouth. It's what Sierra was talking about, getting into your body. And feel Michael's vibe. And then what does Michael have as a reminder for us all?
are you asking me that question or you're asking
If that's
him?
okay, yeah.
Oh,
Or just as a reminder. Not to put you on the spot. You don't have to do that.
okay. I will always hear you don't have to do it by yourself.
Yes. Thank you. Now, 4 archangels, you can Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. There's 3 more off camera. I cropped them and I didn't learn their names for 2 years because they're really complex. Zadkiel, Shamiel, and Jophiel. But you can feel their vibe. You can get a hug. You can get a reminder from them. Just say whichever way you want to interact. But it also could be very humorous, reminding you to do something that you forgot. What'd you get?
For me?
Yep.
Oh gosh, Gabrielle is more or less like the linear part for me for business, as you're talking about, and the messenger that way. And it's like, again, you keep forgetting to ask for help, damn it. And then Raphael, of course, is the healer. Like you keep forgetting you are a healer, and you doubt that at times, and don't, because the doubt is what cuts you off from that. And then Uriel is like the messenger of God, like knock, knock, who's there? For me, God is who, God is up, right? Like God's trying to give you a message. The creator's trying to give you a message, and your ego's in the way.
And the tiger is the one from India that the Divine Mother rides on. And the Divine Tiger just said one of the things you just said, but I'm so like this. I'm not vapid vacuous all the time, but right now I am in this mode. It's about the when you doubt, you pull yourself out of the flow. So it's like you took yourself out of the game for no reason in the middle of a match. Okay, so we'll maybe do Jesus is next, Jaguar, and then maybe him. He's on everyone's team. He's action. He's got soft, shampooed fur. If you put your hand out in the room, you can feel him walk by. He's fun. Here's Jesus. Just
Oh,
hear,
yes.
yeah, hear, feel, or see what you will allow yourself to hear, feel, or see, or go for the trifecta. And if
So
you want to
beautiful.
get a beautiful image on your eyelids, you can feel his hand on your shoulder. If you juggle 7 balls at once, 5 will definitely get through. Get a smell, breathe through your mouth. Feel light come in through the breaths. Get a quick mantra or a reminder, simple reminder. It's allow, allow, allow with the capital A, capital A, capital A.
It always brings tears for me. Tears of joy.
Oh. And I'll go ahead and I'll pull back because you got that one down. And I'll do Jaguar. It's 3 photos of Jaguar. It's not just like Jaguar spirit animal. I like to say Jaguar, like big. There's
Yeah.
3 photos. One is man, I'm gonna forget everything. One is like authentic presence, the other is fluidity, and then the third is owning it all. So it's 3 different Jaguar photos, but here's Jaguar authentic presence. This one should totally just like be you. Yeah. Now, what do you feel with Jaguar on this one?
Has the ability to go through different levels of consciousness with no fear. Rip it apart if it needs to.
Okay. And then the fluidity on the move in the river.
She knows how to go with the flow. She's powerful, and yet she knows how to retreat and be in that loving space for herself.
And before I go to the third one, you can close your eyes and you can either feel it's a shorter metally fur rub up against you. You can hear I don't know what they call a cry of a jaguar in a good way, supportive in the air. You can catch words from the jaguar while I'm switching. Just say, got it when you got it. You don't have to share it out loud. And breathe through your mouth. No try at home if you do this. Good. Okay. And then last one is kind of repose, but it's putting it all together, showing no effort while doing total effort. So it's like being the dot in the center of the circle. Bullseye.
For me, she's
Yeah.
saying, she keeps saying you forget to keep calling on me when you're in tough times.
Ooh, post-it notes on the mirror. I'm just teasing. Okay, I got one last one because you've been a trooper for this. And then we'll go back to like a final 3 reminders for us all and how people can check you out or just how they can, slow their roll a little. Half this is just getting the foot off the accelerator pedal once in a while, if not hitting the brake a little more. Okay, Tiger, everyone wants to put Tiger, you might get Geronimo next as a final because he's awesome. He's action as well. If you had Tiger, Geronimo, an angel named John, and Metatron, you'd be all set for starting a new business tomorrow for anybody. Here's that Tiger. This one should go right through you. Pure action, love on your team. And if you want to take your left hand and put it out in the room like you own a giant dog, yep, like you're dribbling a basketball though, like off to the left, 90 degrees out, let him walk by in the room and feel the soft shampooed fur. And are you feeling it on your hand?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the tiger from India. So if you want to catch Indian temple incense you haven't had in a long time, catch it. Something sacred in the air. And all anybody has to do is say, hey, walk my path with me and remind me, help me remember to remember when I can remember to remember, if I remember, kick my butt a little with a little growl, a reminder, or just a nudge. And breathe, 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 breathe. Come back when you're ready. I got older Geronimo. Last but not least, he's super fun. He's pure action. dull knife and red shirt are formal, proper, yes, no. We're going to skip them today. Geronimo's more like your long lost uncle. He's on your team. He knows all
Mm.
your stuff, but he's here to kind of put wind in your sails. If it's a metaphor, it's that ride, ride, ride. Don't look left. Don't look right. Don't look back. And the horse, the metaphor, it only took me 2 weeks to figure this out. I'm a runner on a run one day. I'm like, Eureka, it's your heart. That's the horse. Be in your heart. Here's Geronimo, older photo of him. People who see this photo usually go, wow.
Mhm.
And he's very like, before you can ask him any question, before you can finish the question, he's answering. He's already there. Pure action. Humor, dry wit, like a lightning bolt. And you can catch one of those 50 sacred smells in the air: tobacco, sweetgrass, juniper, cedar, pine, desert pinole. You get the idea. What are you getting in the air already?
Me?
Yep.
Tobacco.
Oh. And if there's anything you want to share out loud, I'll pull back in 5 seconds or so. But here's something from him privately. Get a compliment, Sierra. You need a compliment. Get a big compliment from him about your inner, fearless, peaceful warrior you.
Yeah.
And then have him just share one thing you know is good for public consumption that you can share with all of us. He said, blah, 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 blah.
Don't fear death. You're here only for a short period.
Yeah, it goes by way too quick.
Yeah, fight for something. You're not here just to take up space, but you're here to claim it.
Okay, couple reminders for daily living. You've only been doing this a long time. What are some of the things we can do to immediately just, we're carrying around all this baggage. Not all of it's bad, but just how do we jettison some of it, lighten up daily? How can we pay attention more?
For me, it was honoring your emotions. Emotions are just energy and movement. When we deny our emotions, we become victimized by life and we're not participating in being human. That was the first lesson, that you're being a victim. And the second part of that was, don't allow your ego to take that much control over your emotions, because when you give them the space to validate them, they go away.
And I promise to show my light is just aura stuff, light between my fingers. Celestine Prophecy, the movie, they did it this way, and you could see a filament of light. But we had a guest who was doing stuff in the 70s, and she said, nah, we were doing this in the 70s before that movie existed. I know in India they do it this way. I'll do it with this background, but a blue sky is number one. If you can ever remember to make a giant pencil and make 2 New York City elevators, go slow enough, you can see the flow between your fingers. It's just your light. But do it right after you saw the best concert and be like, whoa, that's pretty. It's your own love, your light, your consciousness. It's the same as seeing an aura on your dog or a person or a tree. But I'll tell one dad joke. This is just an excuse to tell a dad joke. Where in a hospital is the worst place to play hide and seek? Where? In the ICU. And now see with your heart, see with all of you, do the Zen thing, seeing without seeing. And you see a little filament of light between my fingers? Whoop, Sierra, do you see any light between my fingers right now?
Yeah.
What color do you see?
Blue.
I didn't do it. Good job. Okay, you know how to close out a show. What's the final big reminder out of everything? If you sifted it like some of the gold stuff from the 1800s, what's the biggest gold nugget you could leave us with as a reminder?
Wow. In the 1800s?
Well, yeah, if I was sifting gold, you know how you sift and you try to get all the nuggets to remain, get rid of the dirt. What's one of the most important final reminders we haven't talked about, or just another way to say it?
Sure. For women and for men to understand, is the goddess mantra is, I am the 21st century goddess warrior. I am feminine. I am sensual. I am sexual. I am powerful. Don't ever mistake my kindness for weakness or ever take me for granted, because I see and feel things that you don't. So the way I explain it is the root, the base. I am a woman. Claim it. You are a woman. Enjoy it. Most women don't like being women. It's like, claim that femininity, claim, wow, the lusciousness of being a woman. I am sensual. It's not TNA. Sensual is vitality, right? Getting into being in my body and, you know, how you move and flow. And it's just the power that we have. I am sexual. So sexual means I want to be intimate with other human beings. It's not, again, just having sex. And so the intimacy, you know, and with all humans, with all beings. And then I am powerful. I am courageous. I am courageous. I'm not only emotionally intelligent, I am so courageous. It's that little girl in you, you know? And then don't ever mistake my kindness for weakness. So just because I'm kind doesn't mean I'm being weak, and being feminine doesn't mean being a pushover. And a lot of women give up that femininity because they're trying to compete. I call them imitation men. No, you already gave your power away. And then don't ever take me for granted, because my intuition is my most powerful gift. I don't need to defend it. I already see it. So I have a gift that you don't, and I'm not going to sit here and try and explain it. And so that's owning your power.
Sierra Bender, I love it. New Mexico, Santa Fe, coming to us on Angels, Positivity, and Love. You've been a wonderful guest. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh my God, Michael, thank you for having me. It was so much fun.